Hello, Trekkers and Trekkers. Welcome back to this amazing Star Trek podcast on Trek Tuesday. I'm your host, Arinda, and I recap every 2 weeks an episode of Star Trek TNG. Today, we recap the episode Family. Today, there wasn't a Trek friend available who could recap with me the episode, so you have to do it with me today. From time to time, I will make bonus episodes, and then I will talk Star Trek in general with Trekkies from all over the world. So if you have any Trek subjects you like to talk about, let me know, and I will see when we can make this episode. You can send an email with your name, where to reach you, and share subject to Trekkie1982 sto@hotmail.com. I will contact you as soon as possible. You can also use this email address if you have any questions, suggestions, ideas, or something else you'd like to discuss. Maybe you have seen it on the Facebook group, and I have said it many times before, because Girls Talking Trek was something of me and Amanda, and I always had known that eventually I would change the name of the podcast. The last few days I had made a poll on various social medias with 2 names for the podcast, namely Trekking Around and Trek Stories. So after voting for a few days and talking to Trek friends, the new podcast name is Trekking Around. Everything will stay the same in a way, but the social medias etc. will be a bit different, and I will post this in the description and on the Facebook group. I am always looking for Trek friends who would like to recap with me the episode, so if you are interested, let me know on one of my social medias of the podcast, or of course email me at Trekkie1982sto@hotmail.com. I would appreciate it if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your family. And now for the plot of the episode. The Enterprise D is docked at Earth Station McKinley, undergoing repairs and refitting following its battle with the Borg. The episode follows the interactions of 3 members of the crew with their family members. Lieutenant Worf's adoptive parents, Sergei and Helena Roshenki, visit the Enterprise. Having only just learned about his discommendation, Worf thought believing love and support is too human. At first is embarrassed by this, but in the end appreciated their concern. Dr. Beverly Crusher received a chest kept in storage on Earth containing her late husband Jack's mementos, including a holographic recording he made for Wesley when their child was only 10 weeks old. Beverly thought worried that the 2 of them have only recently truly come to terms with Jack's death. Eventually gives the recording to Wesley. Wesley runs the recording and is uplifted by the message. Captain Jean-Luc Picard, recovering from his Borg assimilation, visits his family vineyard in La Barre, France, which is run by his elder brother Robert, along with his wife Marie and son Rene. Jean-Luc is considering a position on Earth with an underwater research project called Atlantis. Robert has always been jealous of his brother's success and is concerned that Jean-Luc's presence will drive Rene to also join Starfleet. The two have a bitter argument and ends up wrestling each other in the mud puddle, eventually culminating in an emotional reunion, with Jean-Luc breaking down and crying, admitting his sense of powerlessness and guilt at the things he did while under the control of the board. Robert states that Jean-Luc will have to learn to live with that regardless of where he goes. Jean-Luc decided to go back to the Enterprise. The two spent the night getting drunk as they resolve their differences. After Jean-Luc leaves, Robert decides to let Renee follow his dreams to join Starfleet, and Renee sits under the tree and looks up at the stars. Well, welcome back everyone. I just watched the episode and I like first starting that of course they are at the station, they have to have repairs, etc. They have short leave, and of course we come at first with Worf, and as you know, Worf is always very Klingonish, and he is very embarrassed that Commander Riker knows that his parents are coming on board, and they really are. He is really looking forward to meet them. You know, the only thing we only seen a few episodes with Worf's parents in. Well, I mean adoptive parents, and there was a time that I was thinking, okay, show me a little bit more about that background too, because of course we have this whole Worf background stories in episodes in the next few seasons, and there's always one thing that's bothered me, is that Alexander, his son, is going to live with his parents on Earth, but we never see a bit more about that. And I think because of they did so much background stories of Worf, why not include them, you know? And they say they are human, but they don't look human. And that's what I was wondering. Do you guys, and comment that in the comment section, of course. Did you wanted to see more of Worf's background in the way of how he has been raised by humans? And sometimes, you know, sometimes it bothered me why they don't give more attention to that, because it's gonna be, you're getting more inside how Worf or why Worf reaction is like that. And I surely would have loved more about Alexander, because I can imagine as a young child, especially 3 parts Klingon, 1 part human, that it would be very very difficult for him. And I always have said Worf had to take that on him to be a true father to him. And I think the writer made a bit of a mistake about that, because I know that Klingons in that way are very fond of their children. So I don't know what the writers were thinking of putting Alexander in, but not giving him the father he needs. And it could be a very good example of being from another world, another species, or in this case it could be a message or teaching for humanity. How it is, for example, for mixed children to be in this world. I can talk about that because I'm from a mixed family, and I always had to cope with two parts of it, and especially with my family history. That's a story for another time, so think about that. Well, and then we have the scene with Picard is packing his things to go to his family and friends, and in one way, Counselor Troy is buggering him the hell out of him, because he never talks about his family, he never showed something about his family, etc. And she is interrogating him, which makes it funny in a way. And it is a nice scene to see that even after all the simulation as the Borg and Picard, etc., that Picard still has a place to go home, although he does need to fix some things in the way of family. And I think for his brother Robert as well, I do like this episode. But okay, back to Picard. This is one of the episodes that we see a little bit more background of Picard, and it makes me very, very curious in the way of how things is with family on the, well, like I said in an intro, it is just 3 family members that we are following. It is Worf. Worf really has to come to terms with himself, and of course what happened on the Klingon homeworld, that he has been denied to be a Klingon because his father is a traitor, etc. Which wasn't true. Then of course we're following Wesley Crusher, and in one way I always had the feeling they could have done a bit more with it, because we don't know a lot about Jack Crusher. The only thing we know is that he is the husband of Beverly Crusher, and that Picard is his best friend, and they stationed together on Stargazer. But what I would love to know is what character had Wesley Crusher of his father? Where does this traveling thing coming from? Because when we meet the traveler, it sparked a lot in Wesley Crusher's interest. But is this from his father? Or is this from his mother? Or is this just something that he's kind of physically enhanced of doing this? And that is what I think Season 2 Prodigy is telling us a bit about that background story, how it works, etc. But still, I had loved to know more about the family dynamic with Crusher, Jack Crusher, and Wesley. And of course we have the family following Picard. And I think they did this at a good moment in the whole TNG story arc. Cause it would be logical that if you have gone through this very hard thing with being assimilated by the Borg and become the spokesman of the Borg, and your actions in it when you were captive it is logical that you go back to family or a place where you can be safe, feeling safe, and regain what you need. And that is what I think. They say in the episode, of course, that Robert Picard is jealous on Jean-Luc, but I do think they had this role not only because of the jealousy. I do think it's a bit, of course, also of things that I never talked out, and how it's. I think Robert saw that Jean-Luc needed this physical fight to break down so he could heal. And Robert was totally, and I'm agreed with that. When Robert said, well, you have to cope and deal it at your own what you have done in the name of Locutus. And I think Picard has to cope with that his whole life. And now we are talking a bit about his life. How would it be? And that's what I'm thinking now, guys. I don't know what you guys think about this, but how would this impact still when Picard is and became a synth? Because he doesn't have feelings anymore. So I'm wondering in how far a synth can have in that way feelings for what happened when they could feel. And yeah, it's just like, I don't know. What do you guys think? So when Worf is waiting for his parents to beam up, he has this talk with, small talk with Miles O'Brien. And I think, and that's really surprising, Normally Worf is all business and no small talk. But he is letting his frustration go how that his parents actually come on board. What is typical Klingon, I would say, but okay. In one way it's a bit weird because we know how Worf is, and he just greeted his parents like he is actually happy to see them. But we see in the whole episode that he has to work on the fact that the whole family dynamic is doing something to him, because although they I don't want to say interfering, but it is still like, well, it is caring what he does, caring what he likes, etc., etc. And that's the weird thing. And Guinan asked that to his parents as well. Why did they never let him drink prune juice? And so that was a complete surprise for his parents, because they always said, and Worf always said, everything has to be Klingon. And it looks like how long he is working and living among human, how more looser he is getting up. And I noticed that also in Star Trek Picard Season 3, when he became really a part of it again, and we see a very pacifist Worf, and funny Worf, what I really liked. You see that he is a totally different Klingon. And I think there was this scene in Star Trek Enterprise that the ambassador, Vulcan ambassador Savala was his name. He was, not acting or reacting Vulcan, but very human. And I remember that Jonathan Archer was commenting on that, and the ambassador was saying, well, I have maybe I can be living along humans for too long. And that's what I was thinking of, I'm seeing with Worf as well. When Picard is walking to the village, Renee is following him, and they have this quiet little cute interaction with Picard saying, oh, you must be a robber, or and then Renee said, oh no, you're my nephew Jean-Luc from the Enterprise. And which followed Picard said, oh, then you must be my Uncle Rene. And this is very, in one way, a weird episode about that fact, because we all know that Jean-Luc doesn't like particular children, but he has this bond with his nephew. And I always was wondering if Rene would go to the Starfleet Academy and what influence Jean-Luc would have on him in that regards, and how family dynamic he had with his family and still keeping it. And because that was one of the movies, was that Generations? I think it was Generations, can't remember. When that was all before Diana Troy crashed the Enterprise into the planet. And I think it was the beginning. It was on the point that the senior crew was on the ship of the Enterprise on the holodeck, and Worf was promoted or something. I can't remember what it was, but that was the point that Jean-Luc been notified that there was this fire, and Renee and Robert had died. He was very emotional under it, but it is a pity that we don't see what's in between it. We're not really seeing his brother again, and of his nephew. And that's what I was thinking too when in Star Trek Picard, Jean-Luc went back to the vineyard, and he was walking with his dog number 1 to the vineyard. It reminds me of his brother Robert, and I have no idea why. Maybe because of the whole context in it and etc. Although I do wish they did something more with Larix and the other Romulan, because also that sparked my interest in, okay, what is their stories, But okay, let's get back to the episode. And you see in this episode that I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is because Jean-Luc have been assimilated and just saying now of, okay, I'm still healing, and maybe he has this other inside of children. And of course we still have that episode when he went with those kids in the not transporter. Oh, I forgot the word. An elevator is a stupid word for it, but okay. He always find a way to cope with children. And I don't know if this is because they installed this Captain Picard Day, or that he just simply grows, and maybe the influence of Renee. Who knows? As expected, Jean-Luc is getting a bit of a cold shoulder of Robert. But you could see that Jean-Luc is fond of the vineyard, and I think in one way he is happy to be home. The only thing what's bothering me is that he comes back after 20 years to the village where he lives, and not once he have met Marie or what's his name? Renee. So that's bothering me a bit because they are still family. And I think was that family so dysfunction, and then Picard just looking around and say that everything is as how he remembered. You know, it reminds me a bit of what Patrick Stewart said in his memoirs, Make It So, about his family and how that is. So I think I'm a bit looking for that family dynamic as well as him playing Jean-Luc Picard. And so in one way I wished that they put some more background episodes about that. And we always see, for example, when Dr. Crusher was behind tactics, that everyone was looking at her when she, destroyed the Borgs in a way, and how she could firing torpedoes, etc. Everyone, so that was Geordi, Data, and Counselor Troy were looking at her. What the hell's going on? What the heck was that? And she told him, well, in 20 years, a lot of things happened, and you could see. And that's why I'm always saying, Dr. Crusher had become a badass. But I had the same feeling a bit with Jean-Luc here. Of, okay, show me some more background of it. And of course, we know later on that he had this romantic fling, and that's what I always have said, that those two need to have a romantic relationship. And they have a child, of course. What does in between? For example, also as I know there is a novel series about a young Worf in Starfleet Academy. I love to know more about that. I really do. And I think there is even that there was an idea to bring that series to life on screen. I would love to see that. But okay. What I do, what is a bit weird, that, and of course that can be changing in all those years, is that the house where Jean-Luc is grown up to, okay, it's like just a normal house what we always think here on Earth, but in Star Trek Picard, he suddenly lives in some kind of a chassis or a big house that is more like a castle than small castle than or mansion than the house that we know and we see here. Then we come to the scene with that Beverly is getting this package with Jack's memories in, and I think that is a bit of an emotional scene with, but also yeah, it is weird that at that moment, exact moment, Counselor Troy was already there, and she could help Beverly through the emotions and making the decision that Beverly, to give that recording to Wesley. And I always have wondering what Wesley was thinking at that moment. And also, what did it do to him? Worf is showing his parents the engineering because that's also in repair, and they talk to Geordi and they tell him stories about Worf. What Worf finds a bit of an embarrassing, but I think for a viewer, and of course we know Worf, it is nice to hear some stories of when he was a child. But of course, directly after that, when Worf is out of earshot, the serious question of his father comes of how is Worf really doing. And I said before that they don't look like humans, but I was wrong in that. I thought they had those Bajoran noses, you know. And now I'm seeing it back, it is not. What comes also, the Klingon nose is a bit the same of the Bajoran nose. It's the same ridges there. And, I think it's Worf has to come to terms more and more of his humanly upbringing. And I think that is the great thing of having those background stories. You can see something, what it does with the character itself, and also like how influence it has of the life of the character. We do see that it is the father of Worf that always want to tell stories and be open, etc. And the mother always has to tell his father, okay, enough is enough. And she would feel Worf's mood. And what we see is that I think in the end Worf reconcile with his parents, how they are reacting around him, etc. So at the Picard's dinner, there's already, as soon as they're sitting down, this discussion between Jean-Luc and Robert about the convenience of technology and having a replicator in house. And Robert was the one that is really denying the comfort of it all. And because his wife Marie is one of the best cooks in France, he doesn't like it to have the convenience of having a replicator, or, as he said, the fake food in the house. And it's because they also have this discussion between Sentinel and real wine. And in one way I can totally understand Robert, but I think Robert is just want to have this drift between him and Jean-Luc. Maybe he does that on purpose because he knows and sees that Jean-Luc needs to have this emotional outburst, as we know that they're gonna get when they are wrestling in the mud. On the other hand, I think, I don't know if there's still this heat and fight between them. And of course we saw that already, that Robert gave him the cold shoulder. But what is the point? And I think Robert would ask him that self too. What is the point Jean-Luc getting home and have some rest, etc.? Because, you know, we know Jean-Luc, he only works. Everything for the Federation, everything for Starfleet. And that the mayor of his hometown want to give him the key and have a parade, etc., which luckily Jean-Luc isn't go for. There's also, of course, this friend of Picard, Louis, who is this manager about this underwater project. And also he wanted Picard on board of his whole enterprise. And then I don't mean the Enterprise as a ship, but the Enterprise undertaking of the Atlantis 4, I believe that's project called. What was really weird, because I don't think Jean-Luc would even considering be part of that, or even it is in his as we say, in his street. So I don't think it would be too much interest him to be part of that project. You know, that those conversations with Louis, his friend, I think Louis a bit over the top, you know, to trying to convince Jean-Luc to be involved with the project Atlantis. If he knows that Jean-Luc will never ever leave Starfleet, and I don't know, it's just like he is trying to convince Jean-Luc to become the leader of the project. And I do think Jean-Luc can have some ideas, because of course, he has experience in space. But still, I never liked Lewis in particular, because he is this, I don't want to say demanding, but it is more like he try to be something he is not. There is this scene in the episode that the Washenkos are meeting Guinan, and Guinan is telling them how she sees Worf, and that was also the question, of course. Why didn't you give him any prune juice before? And I think Guinan give them the reassurance that Worf does love them and does looks home to Earth and not the Klingon Empire. It is nice to see how, and Guinan is right in this point of view, that a lot of parents can learn from them, because they have to go through this ideal of having a Klingon child and raising it, and although they raised him, he also had to find his own way to the Klingon roots, etc. And that was always a bit of the thought I got was, I never understand in a way why Worf has so many half brothers and they don't look like human or whatever. What happened there? That is something I would love to know of. Is this also from the Klingon side, or is this from the human side, or whatever else more? Because that family bond between Kayla and Alexander and Worf, that's very clear. But we never know. And I also had that a bit with Spock in a way, because we only know Cyborg for one episode or whatever, 2 or 3. And what does that have to make with Spock, you know? And that's what I'm thinking with Worf as well. Did they do that because it's the race or whatever? Or did the writers have something else in mind? I don't know if you guys know that, but I'm a bit puzzled about it. What I did like is that Guinan was the consuls for Worf's parents, and that they are very open to the fact of raising him and stories, etc. I only can imagine that they did that for as a good point of somebody else's. It's just, yeah. The episode isn't called Family for a reason, you know? And although I had loved to see more a bit of Picard and Wesley Crusher, I do think Worf is a bit bigger here in part of having so much background stories in the next few seasons. So in that way it's logical that he has the upper tone of this family episode. There was this moment that Worf's parents are having a talk with him in his quarters before bed. And this is the first time we see that his parents speaking out over what happened in the Klingon world, and that they support Worf, that they love him, and that they always will be there for Worf. And I noticed those intense faces, especially from Worf, that this has to be one of the moments that Worf is reconciled with the human side of his human side, and also that he is lucky to have parents like that, and that it will not be, and because he also, of course, talking about that he have to bear this honor thing alone, which his parents say, no, you're our son, we be there for you and we support you. I think that's also the moment that he realized, okay, I don't have to be this Klingon, I can be the best of both worlds. And I do think that it is nice to see that Worf eventually, and of course we see that in the years that comes, especially also in Star Trek Picard, that he has this human side. He has this humoristic side of him that says, okay, that makes him more human than we think. And I always have to remind myself about Data at this point, because Data is an android but has so much human character things that we will say we don't see him as a human. I mean, we don't see him as an android, but as a human. I get that feeling from Worf as well. Not that Worf is an android or a robot, but more like, okay, I'm pure blood Klingon and I need to respect the traditions, but I always also have been brought up by humans. That shows me another different side of being this being. The first scene that Beverly gives Wesley, that recording of Jad, is in my opinion a bit weird. Cause you see the eagerness of Wesley, but also the holding back of Beverly. The weird thing is that I got the feeling that it is not really come to terms with what it is at that moment. And I don't know if they did this as a good thing for in the whole Star Trek universe, but also like family thematic by the Crushers, because that romantic time Beverly had with Jean-Luc screwed up the whole timeline for them in a way, and meeting years later and Picard finding out that he has a son called Jack. I don't know if I would did this differently, because it is a very weird atmosphere then, and you could see that later on when Wesley is going to watch the recording, he doesn't know what to think about it. And also, like, why does he need to watch it in a hologram or on a holosuite? Can't he do that also just in like a small holosuite, like that little holo message from Tasha to Data. Why can't they do like that? Because I think it was a bit too much to watch that recording in a big holosuite. That's what I think. So we are almost at the end of the episode, and this is the scene that Robert is picking a fight with Jean-Luc. And in those few minutes, it has been said more than they have been talking in decades. The only thing that I really loved about this scene is that you see the big brother and the little brother. And that Jean-Luc is telling Robert that he came home to be saved and healed again by his big brother. And I think after that their relationship improved. And that's what I'm saying of, it is a pity that they don't make more background episodes and background stories about that. Because I would love to see more about that family and where Jean-Luc's coming from and how they were in their youth and how did Jean-Luc get this idea to go to the stars and become a starfleet captain, etc, etc, etc. And the fun part is, of course, when Marie is coming home and both of them were still in mud, they were singing and whatever, she asked them what the hell happened, and they both were covering their asses by being brothers and keeping the peace between them and just say, brothers stay with brothers, as brothers do. When Wesley is watching the recording of his dad, there is a lot of information we're getting already from who Jack Crusher was. The only thing that it is, what in my part was a bit weird, is the uniform. The uniform is familiar, like in the What of Khan uniform, of course, but he didn't wear the undershirt on it, and I don't know if they did that on purpose or if they did that as in just for that occasion. I don't know what Wesley is thinking and feeling in this scene, because it is a bit of out of the nothing. Of course it's something to do with the family, but still, I think no one can, in that way, I don't want to say that nobody can relate to it, but I want to say that it's more like a unique situation. And the question arises, what is it doing to Wesley Crusher? We see it's an emotional bit. We see it's a thing that Wesley Crusher once again have to go through, because he just come to terms that his dad has passed away, etc., and that he doesn't have a father in his life. Although I always have the feeling that Picard was a bit of his father, in a way. And Riker maybe a bit. But that's also a bit of being a mentor and big brother that he watched out for Wesley. And like I said, it's a bit weird for me to put this all in a big holosuite instead of just a little thingy that can be like the message from Tasha Yar. I don't know how Jack could be in this way. Like, of course he's just being a father, he doesn't know anything. But in one way, I'm still wondering, okay, how was he? How would he be as a father? If he would stay alive, how would things be different? How would Beverly and also Jack be working on the Enterprise, for example? So let me hear your thoughts about that. The final scene of this episode is that Picard is leaving for the Enterprise, and you see that Robert and Jean-Luc have come to terms. And in one way, I hope always that Jean-Luc will be returning more to have a holiday there and spend time with his family, etc. And when he beams up aboard the Enterprise, Sergei and Vashenki are about to leave. So Worf is introducing to them, and I think Picard was very intrigued because he would never think of Worf having family over or whatever in a family dynamic. And well, I must say it was a nice ending of this episode. I really enjoyed myself, and this is one of the episodes that I really enjoyed watching and rewatching and recapping it, because I think in what dynamic your family or family bond is, how it still brings messages and teachings of how you can react to certain things. And this episode particularly brought me something of thinking of my own family dynamic with my parents and my younger brother. And I think my decisions to not have them in my life is the right one for me, but I longed for so much more. So if I take a look at the rating of IMDb, that is an 8.4. Well, I think I would stay like an 8 as well. I think it was a very interesting episode. Although I do think they could be a bit more at Wesley's side, but okay, that's me. I always have thought that they could do something more for Wesley. But I think I'm happy with this episode. And yeah, who knows? I know the next episode is Brothers. And this would be a great episode to I would have done with Amanda, because Amanda loved Data, and this of course is a Data episode. So guys, let me know what you think about this episode and what you like, what you dislike, what your rating is, of course. And if you have any theory about the things I'm questioning about in this episode, let me know. Let me know in the comment section, and who knows, we can have a big discussion about it. Thank you guys for listening, and join me in 2 weeks for a new episode recap. In the next episode we will recap the episode Brothers. Tracking Around is to listen on Spotify, Amazon Music, and the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. For the next few episodes, I am still looking for a Trek friend who would like to recap with me the episodes of Star Trek TNG Season 4, Suddenly Human, Remember Me, and Legacy. I will see you in 2 weeks. Live long and prosper!